MFTV going live in 3, 2.
Found a way out. We found a way out. We found a way out. Way out, way out. We found a way out.
All right. What is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We've got a lot to go over in a short amount of time. In fact, this first story, we'll get right into it. Iran is rebuilding ballistic missile manufacturing capabilities with China's support. And China kind of has an out because they're essentially saying that they got this material that's not actually on the sanction list, which is sort of stupid. If they were going to put all of the items needed for a nuclear weapon, why would they leave one out, right? I'll go over, I can't remember the actual name of it. It says, sodium perchlorate. I'm totally getting that wrong. We'll just call it the perch, right? So they said that they're getting over 2,000 tons of sodium perchlorate from China, and China's basically saying, well, it's not on a sanction list, and they're essentially not in the wrong, right? It's not illegal to sell stuff. But they said the actual transfer of it, the boats that were taking it over were turning off their transponders and going dark. So what they believe is happening is that they are rebuilding their capabilities with the help of China. It is believable. China is actually, moving the strings on multiple countries right now. It's hard to believe, especially 15 years ago, people would not have thought this. But now China is going by America's playbook, and they are even helping in regime changes in countries. I think South Korea was actually a big China operation, changing the president out. They are, of course, trying to be the humanitarian country and the environmental country at the same time as the production company. So this is getting pretty insane. We're going to talk about the QRFs, the quick reaction forces that are being formed all around the states, which they knew about before the food stamp thing went down. We're going to talk about that, of course. Everybody's talking about food riots. Walmart actually responded to the food riot comments. So we'll talk about all of that and more on today's show. So again, stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
We found a way out. We found a way out. We found a way out. Way out, way out. We found a way out.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We've got a lot to go over, so let's get right into it with my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, great comment. I was trying to see who actually said that, but somebody said that China was an isolationist country until 2008. Well, back in the 70s, they opened up their country, and they basically said to their people, you can start a business and even make money from it, but we get a cut, right? They opened it up for people to have this, capitalism. Since the 1970s, they were selling to the world, but in 2008, it took a really, really big turn. That was the Beijing Olympics was in 2008. They opened up a lot, and they say that was the true arrival of China as this, massive producing country as far as all of the things that were going on. But if you look at the map, and we've actually taken this map, and it is a time lapse of all of since 1971 all the way up to 2018, and it is terrifying. When you see this map, you completely and utterly understand who is trying to take over this world and who may be succeeding. People that say, China, they won't even get over here. Their ship will break down halfway here. They are not actually keeping track of what's going on. Dex, we had that in our Up Next for a long time. We don't still have that, do we? We had it just like the perma-linked. I think it might still be on there. If anybody hasn't seen this, and for the people that do, they'll be like, I've seen it 50 times. Again, it is such an important one. Oh, okay. So let me grab this real quick. You guys got to see this.
It says China trade map.
In fact, I'll come back right after the Dex covers this next story, and I'll show you this map. So, Dex, let's talk about this next piece here, which is, of course, the Trump-Xi meeting. So perfect time.
Yeah, so it's interesting. You got Trump on one hand saying that he's going to make a great deal, because that's what Trump always says, great deals. And then you've got the opposition, which is all of the media, saying he's already lost the deal to China, but nothing is known yet because they haven't actually sat down. That's coming. So everybody's billing it as like one of the most powerful and important meetings of the year. But the high-stakes meeting between President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping could yield a breakthrough in the quarrelsome trade relationship between the two economic superpowers. But while both the Trump administration and Beijing are projecting optimism ahead of the sit-down, the specifics about the summit remain unclear. And some experts are skeptical of the White House's confidence, like everybody in the media that always has something negative to say. It's funny. There's a bajillion stories that say we've already lost the China deal. But anyway, this is a big deal. It's coming up. It's going to happen late Wednesday into Thursday morning. I think they're going to be meeting, which I guess is basically, in the next 24 hours or happening soon because of the time zone difference as you cross the Pacific. So it's basically happening soon. We'll probably know more about this tomorrow. Tomorrow's news will be what is the outcome, or how was the meeting, or maybe they won't tell us anything and they'll just both say it was a great meeting and they'll give us an update later. But that's tomorrow, and everybody's wondering like what's going to happen. I did hear that the first order of soybeans from China came through today. It wasn't a huge order, but it was an order, and that was obviously part of the negotiation or the pre-negotiations of the sit down, was to show some good faith.
I told you guys 8-9 years ago about soybeans and how this would become a thing in the future, because Russia and China were trading land where they could grow soy in Russia and grow something in China that Russia needed, and they basically traded free land. They're like, bring your Russians over here. They can grow here. They can do whatever they want. If we can do the same, so we can cut America out of the middle. I talked about this at length years and years ago, and that was one of the signs that we saw that this was a setup for war. People say, "Oh, you've been saying war's coming for 8 years." Well, that's because this is a world war. This isn't a wedding that takes months to a year to plan, or some years, right? This is a world war. This is world dominance. It can take decades. So that is exactly what they've been doing. They've been planning this for a very long time. Now, I want to show you this. They might have wanted to take over a long time ago, but they didn't have the power to. Now they are doing absolutely everything in their power, and if they're not stopped, they will try to take us over. I want to show you this map. Now, for those that saw it, you'll be like, "Oh, I saw this already." This shocks everyone I've ever shown. When I'm talking to somebody and I'm like totally just going down the rabbit hole saying every single thing that I think and why I think war is happening, if I show them this on my phone, everyone I've shown has just gasped like, whoa. So I'm going to show you. This is a time lapse. And when you look at this, understand, red is China, blue is the U.S. This is the countries that are doing more business with China are red, and they're doing more business with the U.S. is in blue. So let's start at the beginning here. Back to the beginning. So check this out. So I'm going to press play, and it's going to play through. Now watch as the countries turn red, and pay attention to the date at the bottom. So look at this. There's 2004. Oh, and they have new research tracking data. So look at all these countries turning red. All of these countries are now doing more business right around there. Boom, 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 boom. If we go from the end, right here, look at all of that red. And let me just see if I can't get rid of that dang box. But so if you look, this is all of the countries that are doing now larger trading with China compared to the U.S. Now you go back to 2001. Look at all that blue, okay? And you tell me that China is not trying to dominate the world when you skip from here to here, okay? That should shock anyone. That should get you prepping. That should have, your brain go and little springs pop out and your eyeballs, fly out your face like a cartoon. Because this is real. This is data. Data doesn't have an opinion. So, sometimes it does, and usually it's health related. But you guys get the drift here. So, yeah, if you don't understand what's going on, that's why I believe China is buying all of this. Once you get money, you start getting power. Once you have money, you can do regime changes. Once you have money, you can build armies and navies and air forces. And they go, oh, well, you could do all of that with money and with power and all that. But you need the designs. You need the genius plans. You need this. Well, they've been stealing almost everything. Anything we've had has leaked over to China. You know how? Well, people being paid over $1 million for a piece of paper or a single blueprint could, net you $2 million and a place in China for the rest of your life, right? That's what some of these leakers have gotten. A lot of these leakers are given such a crazy, I've heard of some of the missions where the U.S. tried to offer $10,000 for this really, really important info. That same info, if it was China, they'll throw $2 million at it and have that person basically restart their life just for the blueprints for something like that. And it does matter because when you say, oh, their stuff is going to fall apart halfway here, that's no longer true because they're using our plans. They have hacked us. They have, of course, paid for leakers to give our information out. So when you're looking at a jet versus jet, everybody's going to say, oh, well, ours is still better. Well, if you have one badass jet that can take out 5 at the same time, that's awesome. But when they build 50 of the other ones that maybe can take out 3 jets at a time, and that one might get them, but the sheer numbers are gonna beat them out. They've already built the largest Navy. They've already talked about how it is possibly going to be the largest Air Force, if it's not already. Again, the largest Navy came out of nowhere. And, of course, the manned army is one of the largest, right? Everybody goes, well, we've got 11 carriers. They only have 3. That's the thing. That's why they're focusing so much on technology that can not only find our carriers, but that can take our carriers out. Oh, well, we've got the best stealth, jets. Well, that's why they're basically focusing on trying to track the jets and find them, right? Now, from space, now they have a space station, for God's sakes. They can track the actual, exhaust from our F-35s and then go, oh, that specific exhaust is an F-35, and then find our jet. So this is all happening. They're specifically going after every little criticism that you may have about China. They are addressing it, and I've covered every one of them on this show. Dex, wouldn't you agree, though? Like, every criticism that people have it is basically being addressed about China being the world domination, number one planet ruler.
Yeah, they've had tons of money. They've had tons of manufacturing time. They've gone all the way from how do you build manufacturing plant with, cheap human labor to automating that all the way up to full-on robotics with 0 humans in a plant now, and the plant doesn't even have the lights on, and it can go from raw materials to finished products all robotically. It's some amazing stuff that they have done, and they've had decades to improve upon it, while the rest of us have not.
And when you're setting up the foundation, you could have two businesses right next to each other, and you've got the behemoth that's just ingrained in the city, right? Everybody knows that store. And everybody knows it. It's the same old good thing. Everybody goes there. Then this news store opens up. Not too many people go over there, but it's got some good stuff. It slowly gets nicer stuff. And the old store is like, that's all newfangled stuff. We don't need to update all of that. And the news store is like, I'm going all in. They're going all in on the new stuff, right? At some point, all of a sudden, the news store is dead, or the old store is dead, and the new store is just bustling, right? Well, and then the news store is like, what's going on? Well, they have all of this stuff, and now we can't catch up. As far as AI goes, as far as autonomous technology, is about some of this crazy stuff, we are behind in AI. That's so scary because we have a bureaucracy that stops everything. We have, moral arguments whether this should be done or whether it should not be. And I'm not saying we shouldn't, but the problem is China doing some of the most disturbing stuff over there. There's nobody to say no to them. If they want to test something, if they want to do AI super soldiers, buzz directly into somebody's brain, that's not a bureaucratic thing. They don't get to vote on that. Xi says, let's do it, and they do it, right? That's scary. Especially with the amount of money. You got the U.S. number 1 and China number 2. Even China being in that number 2 spot is scary because their rule book is different. Really think about it. Now, our rule book is pretty much the same. We're just secretive about it. I'm sure we're testing on people and all sorts of crazy stuff that's done in other countries and done on the low, but they are able to do it out and loud about it. So yeah, it's very freaky to see all of this happening right now. Again, I think that China is going to hit Taiwan by 2026. And you'll see here, there's a story coming up here in a second about our Navy moving to Venezuela. It just opened up a gap somewhere else. It proves the point. I'll show you here in a second. But first, I do want to say hi to the chat. Thank you so much, Tom McQueenie, Linda Hope, Preppermint, thank you, Aberration, Kate L, April R. We've got Jeffrey West in the house, Lord Malphus, Vicky, nice to see you, JS from Boston. Hey, members, Briar Patch, Kate L, M. St. G. We've got MJ Mikey. We, of course, have Bunny Ha, Preppermint, and, of course, thank you, Mods, Jammer, and Bobby Sue for holding it down. Funny Doers International, thank you again for being a member as well. All right. Dex, let's talk about Trump's decision to send the aircraft carrier to South America.
Yeah, so as we reported, the aircraft carrier that's now going to be in the Caribbean, going up against the cartels, as they call it, like why do we need an aircraft carrier and actually a complete strike group added to everything else that is now being pulled. It's not that it's being pulled, but it's basically leaving a hole where it would have been in the Mediterranean Sea, which would cover the Middle East and Europe from that location. So it's now leaving that area vulnerable from an aircraft strike group point of view.
Okay, and guys, don't call me stupid. This is a bookmarked, archived, right? And you guys probably see this. I don't know if anyone has actually noticed, but Dex, you probably have noticed when there's the little pop-ups, because this is done. Whoever archived this site, there's a thing where you can get basically all the archive spots without the ads in them. Whoever archived this did it when there was a little pop-up that said add Yahoo as our preferred whatever. You'll see my mouse always try to click on it. And it's like, it doesn't matter how many times. I know that this is a screenshot of it basically, but I still try to close them. It's just, it's built-in robot mode. And as I'm hovering over it, I'm like, idiot. It's now that you guys know that, you'll totally catch it. And I hope you get a chuckle out of it when you see that mouse move. All right. Yeah, as far as moving our carrier, just like I said, we have looked at, and they say we are ready for a peer-to-peer war with 1.5 countries. So we can, take China out. We can take Russia out. We can't take both of them out. If they both fight us, that's where we are losing in simulations. That's where even their supercomputers are running out all the statistics and saying that we would lose. The problem is What if you throw in Iran? What if you throw in North Korea? What if you throw in Cuba? What if you throw in Nicaragua? What if you throw in, this and this and this? And other people will say, well, we have, our alliance. We have got NATO. We've got this. Well, that's the thing. NATO's nothing compared to, the United States, and NATO is not producing like these countries are. These countries are getting set up for a massive, massive war. If people think that everybody's doing air defenses, everybody's doing agreements, countries that have never seen eye to eye are shaking hands right now that are on the border of all of this. And I'm not talking about not even the main NATO countries. I'm talking about Middle East countries are shaking hands right now because something big is about to go down, and they're picking the side that they want to be on. They're picking the side that they think will win. The problem is it's going to be extremely unpredictable, especially with where AI is and where drone and robot technology is. We have humanoid robots that are going to be on the battlefield, in the next year or two. You've already got robot dogs and all of these other things. You've got drones that can swarm together autonomously. This is a different world. Some of you vets out there, you guys had some really, really high-tech gear even years ago that was years ahead of what all of us knew. The vets I've talked to said they have no idea how these guys are going to go into battlefields now as far as how, the battlefield works. I mean, you're talking a little DJI drone could take out 15 people. It is very, very different from what it was. So I'm praying for all of our troops. I'm praying for all of our kids too. Like if this goes big in the next year, like I think it is by next October or November, I believe there's going to be a draft in all of the other big wars in all of the other countries. They've done the draft. And if we go to war with Russia or China or all of them, which I think it's all going to be this crazy event that seems like it's just a domino after a domino, but it's all planned. I think that when this happens, they're going to do a draft. So again, if you disagree, let me know why. Poke holes in my theory. Say, oh no, this is why it won't happen. I would love to hear it. And I would love to be wrong. But looking at what's happening, that's what I think. And after talking to military members all over the Fugel family, a lot of them agree. Not all of them. Again, there's some older vets that I've talked to that are saying, no, we're going to kick their ass. And I just hope that the same spirit they have for this country, I hope that our men and women in uniform have that same spirit now. All right. Now, before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield. I'll make this quick because this is our genuine recommendation for protecting your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, generators, anything with a motor or anything with electricity that you want to get protected. They have a device for. This is a company that you're not going to find in Fred Meyer or Target or whatever. You have to get this from them. This is the same company in tech that is helping DHS, Department of Homeland Security, Department of War, FBI, Air Force. Go check it out. It is, of course, Keystone military tested. Again, this is a device that will ground the signal from either an EMP or a CME from the sun in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it can fry your car or your device. Go to marfugglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. Dex, let's talk about the drone blast.
Certainly. So a drone blast, NATO forces have shot down a mystery drone over U.S. barracks and what some are referring to as a World War III flashpoint. It's in Estonia. It was 30 miles from the border of Russia. So the facility is Camp Rido, is less than 30 miles from the Russian border, and Putin has been breathing down the necks of the Baltic state, as they like to say. But allies took out the drone, they're saying, on October 17th, but it's only just now coming to light what had happened. So Levaxman, a spokesperson for the Estonia Defense Forces headquarters, said allies detected the drone flying in the immediate vicinity of the 2nd Infantry Brigade military base at 16:30 on the 17th of October, one of which was brought down with an anti-drone rifle. Estonian military and police forces hunted for the downed drone but couldn't find it. So maybe it didn't go down if they couldn't find it. But Camp Rido only opened in September of last year. It was built in order to give the Allied forces access to more accommodations near the Russian border and it can hold up to 1,000 people. U.S. troops arrived at the camp in February of this year and for the stated purposes of deterring further Russian aggression while demonstrating real lethality and readiness in a complex terrain. So, but this is now coming to light that with all the other drone incidents that are happening, this one was actually over a U.S. base and was taken out.
And whether this happened or not, they're stating this, and they're making sure you know that this was a barracks that housed American units, right? I hope this isn't a setup for something else or a Fantastic Freddy that says, hey, they did this. You know, we had 2 or 3 American soldiers that were taken out, and, you know, this is an act of war. They did it on purpose, and this is why we need to get over there and get in this. I don't know. I don't think so because, you know, we know the ones here that believe that war is not only imminent, that is coming very soon, that there will be an event much like World War II and World War I, where it's a flashpoint and even possibly a Fantastic Freddy, where you've got an event that kicks it off that everybody is going to know, everybody's going to remember. Pearl Harbor, of course, you know, after that day, it was instant. World War I forget, we were going after the Mexican, gosh, I can't remember his name, the Mexican outlaw or whatever, and we got involved there too. I'm much more brushed up on World War II. If you guys know who I'm talking about, it's such a famous name too. But either way, and then we got pulled into that, and both times Americans were like, hey, we need our forces here. We need our money here. Don't send money over there. Both times we were sending money to Europe for their war. Both times they were saying, hey, keep that money here. You know, we don't have anything to do with that. So if you think that the general public not wanting a war over, or any kind of war matters, it doesn't. Because once there's an event that everybody just, their eyes are just going to go red. They're just going to see blood, okay? Just like in 2001 with the trade tower or the trade center, just like Pearl Harbor, just like many events, it's like boom, instant pissed off. That's the kind of event we're talking about that would get the public support for a war. And that's the thing. You know, people think that they can just do whatever willy-nilly. So say if Putin did something that was completely against his country, how fast would he be taken out or have a revolution? Like, you can't just, you know, unless you have absolutely a crazy, insane military that just clamps down on everybody, you have to have the public support. It's especially in a large country, it just doesn't work without it. And that I think is what's going to happen. Is there's going to be an event where you aren't going to think about this in whenever it happens in 9-10 months, whenever in 10 years. When it happens, you are going to forget about this conversation and you are actually going to be pissed. You're going to see it all over the news. And just like every time, almost all of us forget to ask, like, did this really happen? Did it happen like they said it happened? You know, because these wars are big money. We're talking about the next resources, the next oil wars, only now it's lithium and other minerals. Our currency is going to change in a matter of years. I mean, it's already 2025. 2001 was 24 years ago, a quarter of a millennia back. That's insane to me. So just think about the next 10 years. 10 years goes by, 15 years go by. We're going to be in this massive world-changing event, and our world is going to change. And I don't think it's going to be for the better, but that's me being pessimistic. Let me know what you think it's going to be like in just a few years. All right. Thank you. 1 Thessalonians 4:16 through 18. Thank you so much. Just did a super. I appreciate that. Looks like you might be law enforcement too. Thank you for dropping the super. I appreciate that. All right. And then Cameron, Susan Stack, thank you for being here. And then thank you, Preppermint, for sending out 5 badges to other Foogle family members. That's super appreciated. Thank you for supporting independent media. All right. And then Putin tests the unstoppable underwater weapon that can cause radioactive tsunamis. Now, this is the note to the East Coast and the West Coast. A lot of people have their doubts about all of this kind of stuff. We doubt that they'll ever do this. There's a lot of, especially propaganda right now, and even predictive programming. If you saw House of Dynamite, I don't know if any of you saw that after I didn't recommend it, but I said, if you want to go check it out, it's definitely predictive programming. Dex, you haven't seen House of Dynamite yet, have you?
No, I have not.
So House of Dynamite is essentially kind of a realistic look at what would happen if a missile's coming over, and it shows the Situation Room. It shows the president. It shows the defense, the leaders in defense. It shows the Alaska, base that has the ground interceptors, and it goes through and it basically repeats the same 15 minutes, but from all 4 different angles. It was kind of a unique way to put a film together. But the main point is it shows you this scenario where everybody does it right, and it shows that we are still very, very vulnerable to this, right? That we don't have that many ground interceptors. If it really did go to war, that we're all gone. That it is truly just the end if everybody goes nuclear. And they're putting that out there, and I just want to point this out. In this whole week, we've had nuclear this, nuclear that. I mean, heck, now they're covering nuclear power plants having fireballs when it was off-gassing. And my guess, it probably was off-gassing, right? But they want to cover nuclear. So just keep that in mind. When you're thinking of a possible Fantastic Freddy, you got to kind of do the math and add up all of these things that are going across the board, syndicated across all of the medias. Nuclear is in our mind. Fantastic Freddy with a tactical nuke. Well, with that in mind, this is a scary weapon because it is a nuclear weapon that would not only be able to maneuver across the planet. They say it is nuclear powered, so it can essentially go forever. It could go around the ocean 5 times if it wants, or at least that's what they're stating. And it can create up to I think this sounds crazy every time I say it, 1,500 foot wave. 1,500 foot wave. Dex, am I tripping? I don't know if it says the actual feet in here.
It says 1,600 feet in this
1,600
article. It's
feet.
always some number, but I don't know that the
Over
height
200
matters
is nuts.
as much as the fact that the water is radiated and it's going to get dumped on top of anything on land that it comes in on. So,
but that's the other thing. Say they could do it to where it only hits. Well, it's not going to only hit. There's no way to do this and not hit everybody else too. Especially if it's 1,600 feet. If a tsunami, like how would they make this to where it would only hit the targeted area, right? It's going to slosh back. And 1,600 feet is so absolutely absurd. The Cascadia subduction zone, which will, think about this. India, Boxing Day disaster, that tsunami. Think about Japan. I think Japan was 60-something feet, 65? 65? 1,600 feet. The Space Needle in Seattle is about 700 feet. In Las Vegas, they have the Space Needle-like thing. That thing's under 1,000 feet.
Well, yeah, I also think that you have to factor in the span as much as you factor in the height. And I think that even putting a nuke in the water might create a 1,600 foot wave. I don't think it's 1,600 feet across 3 states, where something like Cascadia is going to move so much water that it may create 100, 150 feet or more high, but across 3 states. Like it's so much wider. So the volume is actually greater in something like that than say this nuke. But this nuke,
but it does matter because 1,600 feet.
The point of the 1,600 feet is not to take out the entire West Coast. It's to come in and wipe out New York City. It's to come in and hit something into up into the waterways into DC or around Maryland area and all of that. It is to strike any areas that have container shipping functionality, whether it be in the coast in the Gulf or taking out Miami or something like that aftermath, and just creating a desolate area of radiation that nobody can go habitate in afterwards.
But Dex, the 1,600 feet matters to me because if this is a tiny tactical nuke, you're talking about a 1,600 foot wave in however they do it. That has to be such a big blast for 1,600 feet high wave to hit anywhere. I mean, think about it. If a meteor hits Earth, we've had meteors hit in the ocean. We've had earthquakes, massive, massive pieces of land that move. And to move that amount of water, that would take unbelievable, tremendous power to do that. I don't know how they designed this thing, but what I'm thinking at 1,600 feet high, they're not talking about just the initial blast and the splash. They're talking about a wave going from that. And to move that much water, like you said, that's a lot of water.
It just depends on how wide. And that's what I'm saying. If it's 1,600 feet high, but half a mile wide, that's much smaller than 1,600 feet high and, 100 miles wide, right? There's a much big difference. There's a larger difference in those two statistics. And I think it's more likely that if it reaches 1,600 feet in height, it's got a very narrow trajectory to reach that height.
But that's what I'm saying. Like if it was small enough to where it's only a half a mile wide, then it would be like 100-foot wave or something. Like I just don't. I would think that they would be tied hand in hand.
If it was smaller in width, it's going to be higher, and I think that's how they're achieving the 1,600-foot number, which nobody knows. They've not actually blown it up. They've just driven the missile around. So all they have is the scientific numbers that they've calculated on what it should do in water. And they really haven't released it. Nobody's been able to validate it. They just threatened that it's 1,600 feet. And ultimately, from a war point of view, from a tactical point of view, it's designed to go after a city. It's designed to say, let me hit New York. Let me hit the naval yard in Virginia. Like, let me hit those strategic areas. And yes, a high water amount would be significant, but it's not going to be like across 5 states wide. It's going to be very narrow. Targeted.
And I mean, this would be the kind of wave, if they're for real, that are, the movies always show this like skyscraper tall wave. And AI, if you do tsunamis, it always makes that like just comically large wave. But that's what they're talking about. And then that irradiated water at 1,600 feet high, Cascadia 300 years ago went in 20 miles. Right? 20 in some places, like 54 miles into Washington State and in parts of Oregon. So think about how far 1,600 feet would go in if it was coming at us like that.
But Cascadia had the width. That's what I'm saying. It has more volume. So when you have 1,600 feet and not a lot of width, it's going to dissipate quickly and not go so far into land. Where if you have, like Cascadia, 150 feet high, but the hundreds of miles wide, then it's going to go deep because there's so much mass coming through that it takes a long time for it to drop its height as it goes across land. So again, I think it's, this.
I think it would depend on the area.
This torpedo that he's got is designed to hit those coastal cities and take out city by city or naval base or things like that.
And how could we stop this? Some people think this is silly, right? But this is a realistic thing. If you're planning on a war and you want to win, things like this start becoming a reality, right? They start, this is such a savage, like horrid weapon of mass destruction. If anything like this is real, if the Poseidon is as real as they say it is, and this thing would do what it does, not only would it be a horrendous event, think about how people would perish, like how people would actually die.
Yeah.
It's so disturbing to think about. Like the people that weren't knocked out in the wave, they would be irradiated and have to, perish a miserable irradiated death. That's just mean, cruel and unusual, right?
Yeah, and Wise Jim made a good point. They said that if they were to launch this into a river basin, like where the river enters the ocean, being able to send that wave upriver could then have a detriment to a longer path, but up a single channel, right? And hit a lot of towns along the way. So that could be kind of crazy too. You think about whether it's the Mississippi or the Savannah River here in Georgia. Yeah.
I mean, as far as something like this, how would you stop it? You would have some sort of high-tech gear in the water, but in the water, we know less about our oceans than we do about space. Think about that. Why? Because even with all of the tech we have, there's certain things we really can't do. In the last 10 years, they've really made big movements on being able to dive deep down into the ocean. But that's the point. Like there's stuff in the ocean we don't know about because humans aren't meant to go underwater. Submarines have a problem with this. It takes an extreme amount of engineering to even go down. I mean, everybody watched that Titanic sub thing. Everybody was fascinated by that because it showed you the power of the water, of being underneath. If he's got something that can go deep underwater, that's already hard, for impossible for most, and hard for even a submarine, how would you stop that? And you can't. I mean, do you put up nets around the entire country? Heck, I mean, could you imagine the crap they gave us about the wall between us and Mexico? Dex, think about if he put a net all the way around our country in the ocean. I'm sure they would get up in arms about that too. Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. This is, we're not saying, hey, go sell your house, get in a bunker right now because there's a 1,600-foot wave coming. But I would ask you to, put this in your mind because this is something where you need to have a plan and prep. If you're on the coastline, obviously there's not much you can do. But at the same time, there are things you can plan for. If you're farther in, if you're on the coastline, I would say in the West Coast, I would move. But again, I've moved to the other side of I-5 because honestly, I don't believe it's going to be a very good time for everybody on the West Coast after Cascadia. But with this, there's no stopping it.
Next week, Trump's going to announce the Aquadome.
Yeah, the Aquadome. Or, oh my God, the League of Justice will pop out of the water. That would be cool. Or no, wasn't it the Fellowship of Doom? What? I think the villains in the Justice League lived in the water. I don't know. Hopefully Aquaman's real. And then U.S. will reduce its troops on NATO's eastern flank, Romania says. So I wonder what's going on here. Dex, do you want to go over this? And I wonder if we need them somewhere else.
I think Romania is just a little mad because they're losing a few people. And literally, so the Romania Defense Ministry has said the U.S. intends to reduce some of its troops stationed in NATO's eastern flank, meaning Romania. Between 900 and 1,000 troops will remain. Okay, so that 900 to 1,000 are going to stay in Romania, but that's down from 1,700. So they're losing 700 to 800 troops in Romania.
But it's almost half of what they had.
Yeah, it's half of what they had. So I'm guessing Romania is not real happy about it.
And these are American troops.
Yeah, American troops. It doesn't say where they're going because this is Romania's hit piece to sort of say, yeah, look what they're doing to the eastern flank of NATO. They're abandoning it. Well, I suspect that these troops are just being shuffled around into other areas where it's probably more critical than, say, Romania. Because if Romania was so critical, it wouldn't have had 1,700 troops. It would have had 10,000. So we got 100,000 over there. And they wouldn't be, they're positioned in lots of other places besides Romania. So I don't know exactly what the shift is, but you certainly can hear the cries from Romania at losing these handful of people.
Well, and look, Romania is behind Ukraine. As far as Russia's the threat from this side, you, of course, have Moldova over here. That is something that jives too. We, of course, watched the Belarusian president pointing to a map that showed that, Ukraine war and then an arrow going into Moldova. So there could be something there. And then also I want to point out that there's this, the Black Sea strategy that Turkey is kind of the leader on, that all of these countries, Turkey down here, is putting together. And that's why Azerbaijan and Armenia have just made up. And they have quoted that, they're both going to be a part of this Black Sea strategy. It's a defense system that, that they're putting together between all of these countries. So I wonder if they're moving these guys around because they need them on other parts of the border that are more urgent. Or I wonder if any of these guys are going down to Venezuela. Venezuela is also obviously, not going north. So what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And then aggressive lab monkeys infected with herpes and hepatitis C escape following a truck crash. So I got a couple messages on this. Absolutely terrified. What I will say to this is I have covered the news for like 9 years. I have covered a lot of these. Dex, I mean, you probably remember a handful of these, right? There's always monkeys getting out. And that's the scary part. When we found out that this is like a regular occurrence that have like horrible things.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've covered them all. I remember all of them. But yeah, a truck full of several reportedly diseased lab monkeys crashed on Tuesday morning in Jasper County, Mississippi. It's along I-59. The truck overturned and was transporting 21 monkeys to a testing facility in Florida. So it was near the 117-mile marker. So if you live in that area and you see a Rhesus monkey running around, don't go near it. Health officials are saying, unless you want to catch a disease.
I don't know why. Like, I just think of like 90s, like National Lampoon comedies, like Pamela Anderson with her hair all messed up, jumps out of the truck. I don't know why I thought of that, but that's where my brain went. And then we have, we're going to talk about one of the most important things, the QRFs that are happening. We'll talk about here in just a second. But first, I do want to remind you guys, make sure to go check out Energy. This is our highest recommendation as far as a portable generator, as far as a solar generator goes, because this thing is built like a tank. This thing is built for the Army. They have the SBR Phase 2 contract. So you're getting the same generator that's most likely going to be sitting on the back of a Humvee. They have specific reasons and specifications that they have to go by for the Army, and that's all of the same stuff you get. Yours is not different. They are front-loading it in the U.S., so you know that there's no secondary country that is putting backdoors in it that's going to shut it off if they invade or do whatever. Also, it is not only able to be hooked up to an EMP shield, the EMP shield actually has a device directly for this, so you can just plug and play into this unit. It is reinforced with a steel frame. Each battery has a heater for extreme cold temperatures. They're water and weather resistant. These things are just absolute beasts. Not to mention, you can actually mod them. You can change them with different, essentially they're like either battery sized or smaller than battery sized, chunks that click right in. You can do one battery, you can do 5, you can do 40, and you can do 10 with mods or whatever. Again, you can get power from charging it from the wall like a big giant battery bank, or when the power goes out, you can get your power from a solar panels, right? On top of that, you can keep it charged when a storm happens. It doesn't have to be the end of the world. If something, a car rams into a pole and knocks your power out for a day, you can just turn this baby on and, get rolling again. Also for work, if you are in construction, I've used it a lot for my power tools, my drills, my saws. Having power wherever I go is absolutely awesome. So again, go over to marfooglenews.com/energy and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. The biggest thing though, if we really, worst case scenario, you would be able to get power from the sun. Huge advantage. And they're silent. That's the other thing. I haven't said this in a while, but this is a really, really key point. You want to be a gray man in the end, right? You don't want to have a super loud Chinese Harbor Freight generator going because everybody is going to be without power. Everybody's going to be desperate, and they're going to want that generator. So if you do have a gas-powered generator, which everybody should probably have both, may want to think about putting like a sound dampening, shed around it. All right. And then Pentagon orders states' National Guards to form quick reaction forces for crowd control in all 50 states. So we know that there's the certain states, almost all of them, sanctuary states, have had, these deployments of National Guard. The president essentially, did this and did this in these few states. That was a big deal. And of course, I have a theory that maybe those states are where some not in uniform other country personnel are. And maybe they're also worried about that. Well, this kind of leans into that maybe there is something bigger coming, or they knew about this whole food stamp thing. Now, when you go, oh no, they're doing that because of the food stamp thing, this was signed on October 8th. That was 21 days ago. The government shutdown. When did the government shut down, Dex? It was after the government shutdown, I think. Right? Has it already been 3 weeks? I'm trying to think. Think of the date that the actual government shut down. Either way, this happened 21 days ago. So we just got the news about the food stamps, and it absolutely not happening in all 50 states. October 1st. So a week after the government shut down, this major general essentially did a memo. Why the heck is it showing this one? Dex, it's messed up in the archive. I'm getting the Pamela Anderson monkeys again. Damn it. Either way, I know the story and I've read it all the way through. So the Pentagon, right? They're ordering these QRFs, quick reaction forces. They're supposed to get up to at least 500 troops. They want in the next 90 days at least a starter platoon or a squad of 50. So they immediately want at least 50 National Guard in every single state to be trained up and ready to go in this squad. Dex, I mean, doesn't this scream like something's up with, all 50 states to have this right away? And the timing is before the food stamps thing, but this could totally be to quell that too.
Yeah, if you need the article, it's up next. But yeah, absolutely. Look, this is, not by, circumstance. This is not just some random act that they're going to do and improve our military's readiness and have quick reaction forces. No, this is by plan. They understand there is a threat. They understand there is this notion of something happening rather soon, and they want to be prepared for it as quickly as possible. So, and it's going to be nationwide, not just something, in a couple of the key areas or key states that are, have been the obvious flashpoints in the past.
Yeah, something doesn't sit right with this one. I hope that everybody, again, puts their thinking cap on right now, because whatever is going on right now is definitely off. What do you guys think is going to happen, especially with the food stamps not coming to people in need? And a lot of you, I'm sure a lot of you are not going to get your food stamps. What are you going to do about this? Are you going to go to the food bank? I've already talked to two people that have volunteer and work for the food bank. They said that it is absolutely crazy right now. They're reaching out to smaller stores, even family stores, to say, do not throw away anything. If you have stuff to donate to the food bank, please do. Everybody is utilizing this as this politically divisive moment. If you look at places that are extremely one way, like Facebook, it is just all over the place. People are just saying they're going to unfriend their mom. They don't talk to anybody that supports this whole thing. And both sides are pointing at the other, saying that this is your fault that this is happening. And that's not good news. What's even worse is when you take all of a sudden something that people are absolutely dependent on. Now, some of you may never have been on food stamps. My mom was on food stamps for a lot of years, even back when they were actual, stamps or piece of ticket books or whatever. I forget what they looked like. But she was on food stamps many times. My mom was homeless. In fact, she was homeless. She wasn't homeless when she died, but she was homeless right before that. And I've been on food stamps through my 20s. When I lost my job, at least twice I was on food stamps, and a third and a fourth time when I had my first baby. at 19. And there were times where it came down to the last, couple dollars to get through. We had to just scrape by with literally everything and anything we could. So I know that there are people out there that, whatever the case be, and there are some really unique and cases where, they really do need these food stamps and they can't just go out and get a job. So I really hope that, and I'm praying, besides all of this drama and the possible riots that happen from it, I'm praying for you guys, everybody to figure out your food plan this month. And I am just praying that when you go to the food bank, that they are plentiful, that they have everything that you need. And I'm just praying that all of you eat every single day this month and do not have an issue. But yeah, definitely if you're on the other spectrum, if you're in big cities and stuff like that, I highly recommend that you have just a basic plan in case things go south. This is what we say every day, and I hope that it does end up, burrowing into some people's minds and they end up getting prepared. Dex, thank you so much for your service today. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much to the mods. Thank you, Preppermint. You are our top supporter tonight. 1 Thessalonians 4:16 through 18. Thank you, and thank you. And thank you for joining as a member. I appreciate that. Thank you to our mods, Jammer and Bobby Sue. Thank you to everybody over on, of course, the Mod Squad. Make sure to go check them out over at marfooglenews.com/friends. All right, you guys, it is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Why is it not working? Oh, yeah. That was really loud.
We found a way